So this is the 2340 hours GMT edition of the Khoodeelaar television channel being broadcast only on the internet, not on satellite, not on terrestrial, not on cable networks. And this is under the framework of the Baby Angel Geronimo editions. Baby Angel Geronimo is the bestest Baby Angel Geronimo in the whole world. And Baby Angel Geronimo is the witness that guides our programs, commentary, and narratives, and covers everything that we diagnose, analyze, and comment on. Baby Angel Geronimo is an alpaca, as a member of the camelid families. And Baby Angel Geronimo was born in New Zealand in about 2017. Same year, I think, he traveled to England and joined a woman called Helen MacDonald, who loves Baby Angel Geronimo. And we came to know about this because of the campaign that Helen MacDonald started to defend the Baby Angel Geronimo from the corrupt, depraved, criminal attacks on this innocent Baby Angel Geronimo, mounted by the United Kingdom department called DEFRA. It is supposed to be the Environment Protection Department, but it's a criminal department, and in particular, the attacks aimed at Baby Angel Geronimo were conceived and poisonously updated by a criminal woman called Christine Middlemiss. She is a criminal kept in the post of chief vet for the UK. She needs prosecuting along with others, including Boris Johnson, who was prime minister for significant part of the time, and other criminals at the DEFRA, including George Useless Injustice Eustace, and a number of media people like the son of a cabinet member in Margaret Thatcher's government, Nigel Lawson. His son is Dominic Lye's son, and also the midget Private Lies editor, Ian Pissoff, and a whole host of other people in Britain deserve to be prosecuted for the criminality they colluded in and complicit with in the attacks mounted to defame, demonize, and disentitle the Baby Angel Geronimo. So this is why Baby Angel Geronimo is the main framework for witness, transparency, evidence, truthfulness, fairness, compassion, applying to not just Baby Angel Geronimo's particular species, but all species. So that's the guiding leader, Baby Angel Geronimo. And we love Baby Angel Geronimo more than we can say in words. And our solidarity is stronger than we can say in words. And on to today's updates. The resignation of the criminal Gavin Williamson has been featured in the so-called Question Time, Prime Minister's Question Time, staged in the UK House of Commons at midday local time on Wednesday, the 9th of October, November 2022. And Rishi Sunak, the incumbent Prime Minister, reportedly expressed his regret that he appointed Gavin Williamson to his cabinet at all. Now, this is the kind of formulation or format of the regret, enforced regret, reluctant regret, that Rishi Sunak will be heard and witnessed as expressing when he eventually makes himself able to get rid of Cruella, Suella, Ibila, Braverman. Because as compared to the insult and the abuse that Gavin Williamson had reportedly hurled at other members of parliament and employees, wrongly called civil servants, most of the times they're not civil at all and they don't serve the public, but that is what the kind of traditional, corrupt British kind of thing is. And this linguistic confusion and abuse must be rectified and corrected. And Baby Angel Geronimo is the leader, active in correcting these linguistic idiocies. And we shall update accordingly as we carry out the corrections and remedies and rectifications, etc. Now, Gavin Williamson has been mocked by the likes of the Daily Star, a tabloid in Fleet Street, calling him a thicko. But we don't agree with the Star's depiction of one thicko, because all of them are thickos. I mean, look at the antiques currently on display over in Australia via the behavior of this idiot Matt Hancock. Hand Crook, we call him, got caught with his hands tightly kind of grappling or grabbing the backside of a woman employee in the department and that he was cabinet minister for. So these people are thickers and they have no morality, they have no self-respect, and they have no fitness for purpose, and they have no compassion, as Baby Angel Geronimo can testify. And as we have said, because there is no other source that we can cite in context to illustrate the depth of depravity that has been evident in the attacks on the character and the innocence of the Baby Angel Geronimo by the likes of Christian Middle Miss and her criminal, depraved cohorts in the DEFRA, except to cite from the Holy Quran and the Surah Al-Isra. Surah Al-Isra summarizes, but it is not the only surah in the Holy Quran. There are other parts that actually represent the same scenario. It says that Satan challenged God when God ordered him to bow to human beings. And Satan claimed that he was created originally from fire, whereas human beings are lower creations because they were created from clay. But God said that regardless of what they are made of, I am commanding you to bow to them. And Satan said, I am more intelligent than any human being. And there is hardly any doubt that Satan is very intelligent. So God said, okay, what do you want to do? And Satan said that he wants to challenge, compete with God for disciples, followers, and so on. So God granted him the option and said that he would, I'm doing paraphrasing, of course, I'm not quoting. And God said that, okay, you carry the numbers of those deluders, the ones that are misled by you. But I'm confident, God said, that the majority of human beings will follow my order, my dictate, my command. And that is the equation. So everything that happens in the world until the day of judgment, until the world is destroyed by God's will, Remember that thing in the kun fayakun. The difference between the saying of the kun and the fayakun, be and unbe or not be, is the length of the hundreds of thousands of years of the planet Earth and creation. So that battle will continue. And what baby angel Geronimo is witnessing is the battle that is ongoing between Shaitan and God. And all the personifications of Shaitan, like Boris Johnson, are doing the battle. And the other thing is that in the Quran it says and that the day of judgment will be done on the basis of the evidence, on the records of the behavior of human beings on this planet, or on this life, or in this life. And behavior as recorded by the two angels on the two shoulders. One shoulder, the angel is recording the good things, and on the other shoulder, the angel is recording the bad things that a particular human being does. And on the day of judgment, these evidence items will be produced. So God will not do arbitrary kind of judgment. He will be fair and depend entirely rely on and cite this evidence. Everything that baby angel Geronimo has said to the liars has been recorded accordingly. Because everything that the baby angel Geronimo has said is recorded because the human beings who have supported and do support the baby angel Geronimo are also being watched and monitored by their own angels. And so the baby angel Geronimo's testimony will, without any doubt, be overwhelmingly in favor of the good and against the bad things that the likes of the personification of Satan, like Boris Johnson, Christian Middlemiss, and George Evil Eustace. So their evidence will condemn them. And so we continue along that line on that basis. There is no similar narrative, explanation found anywhere else except in the Holy Quran. That is why we mention that. Now, when Rishi Sunak on Wednesday, the 9th of November 2022, expressed regret that he had appointed Gavin Williamson, he didn't do that spontaneously. Because as we said in the previous edition, let me just check what. So the previous edition we said that Gavin Williamson's usefulness to Rishi Sunak was based entirely on Gavin Williamson's essential character as a bad person, as a thug, as a bully. So if Rishi Sunak has ever said that he didn't know it was bullying that has been alleged against Gavin Williamson, then of course Sunak was lying through his teeth. Because the only thing that Gavin Williamson brought to the table was his being able to bully other people and bully them in order to get those bullied persons to do what he, Gavin Williamson, wanted, and that is to serve in the context of all these, the career ambition of Rishi Sunak. So Sunak is a liar when he says that he only realized later, etc., etc. He didn't. He went out of his way to recruit the services of this moron, this thug, this villain, so that he could intimidate people, threaten people, upset them, and make them lose sleep over the threats that he had been issuing against them. But as I said, this is the beginning of Rishi Sunak's serial sacking, because he will have to sack Cruella, Ibila, Suella, because as compared to the mountain of evidence against Rishi Gavin Williamson, the evidence against Cruella, Suella, Ibila is many times more, and they affect many more people's rights, safety, entitlements, even the lives of so many people. And there is a whole list. I mean, the list is increasing, the list is getting longer by the question, if you like, that Rishi Sunak is being asked to answer. And as we said about the behavior of the racists, that the American writer, the woman Harper Lee, wrote in her book, The Killing of the Mockingbird. There, the accusation against the black man made by a white woman that that black man had raped her, that was a completely false accusation. Now imagine, you can only imagine because you can't really experience something that you are observing from a distance unless you are receiving it empirically. What nightmare was this black man going through every single minute of his existence? And Atticus, the white lawyer defending the black man, had almost same kind of nightmare because of the attacks on him by the racist mob, condemning him for standing up for a black man. Now, anyone who makes up an allegation of such description can only be doing that if they are working for Satan. So, Suella Cruella Ibila said that children, women, and other vulnerable people desperate to leave whatever they were leaving behind in order to find a sanctuary, refuge in a Western country, that their desperate search for safety and protection constituted their invading Britain. It's like the Spanish Armada or Hitler's Nazi German aeroplanes or bombing raids, the Blitzkrieg of the 1939-45 so-called Second World War. How can an irrational, sane, thinking, compassionate human being accuse the victims of the worst criminality that they're fleeing of the criminality themselves? So Rishi Sunak will have to explain. It's not just the regret, but he will have to explain why he has been taking so long in shielding this evil individual, this Satan personified, in his cabinet. We have another minister in the Home Office called Robert Jenrick. Now, I mentioned the piece by the Spectator writer called Isabella Hardman. I mean, these people, these Isabels and the other Bells in Fleet Street, I mean, what is it that they're made of? She said that when Robert Jenrick, as a junior to, in terms of rank, to Suella Cruella, stood in for him and answered questions from the Labour Party MPs in the House of Commons. He came across what she was saying was as a harmless person. Jenrick is not only not harmless, he is a completely conceited criminal who has got a licensed law trading license, but is a crook. As he was caught in the West Ferry printers deal with the criminal who owned the Daily Express and the Sunday Express, etc., etc. And he was caught bribing. The Jenrick was receiving bribe, and he was channeling it to the Conservative Party. And the briber would be given the benefit of the planning permission. That happened in the Isle of Dogs, also known as the Docklands or Canary Wharf, etc., in Tower Hamlets in London. Now, this went on, the denials. Jenrick lied and denied doing the bad thing, the act that he was caught doing. And it took a lot of campaigning before the liar confessed, in effect. So Isabella or Isabel Hardman, married to a traitor, former Labour MP, now given a place in the House of Peers in return, in acknowledgement for his treachery by the Conservatives. I mean, she makes Jenrick come across as a member of the clergy. And the whole Spectator magazine, effectively owned by the surviving Barclay brothers, one of the Barclay brothers, the two of them owned the Daily Telegraph group when they were bribing Boris Johnson to the tunes of millions of pounds for over more than 10 years. Hardman is one of a dozen or so Spectator sort of names. They've got a kind of side business appearing on the BBC's Sky News and other platforms, where their association with the Spectator is peddled as if it's a kind of thing to be proud of, or it is some kind of certificate of credibility. There cannot be any credibility to the Spectator given the record, because it's nasty as nasty can be, but it doesn't necessarily come across with nasty language. And its current editor, I mean, these are shameless people, completely corrupt. Fraser Nelson. I mean, he has all these people, and he, including him, that is Fraser Nelson, have branched out into other kind of sub jobs. And what they do on those kind of spots is to back the argument for the crooks of the Conservative Party. So Isabella Hardman was doing the bid for the Braverman, and she hid his crimes as she did hide the crimes of Cruella, Suella, Evila. And she doesn't mention Isabella Hardman, the fact that at the root of the actual criminal intent on the part of Suella, Evila, Cruella is her fascistic, nasty rejection of the founding aims and purposes of the United Nations organization in late 1940s. Because the Geneva Convention on Refugees was published and agreed dated 1951. Now that was done at a time when the so-called Second World War had ended barely 5-6 years ago earlier. And everyone wanted to spare the world, protect the world from any such situation again. So it was absolutely essential, highly laudable. And the Convention on Refugees was drawn up by actively thinking about the sufferings that the victims of the Nazi attacks went through. And they wanted to spare the people similar experiences. So it's an absolutely universally good thing, the Geneva Convention on Refugees. But you won't see that description in the Daily Mail or here in the words of Suella, Evila, Cruella. To her, the victims of genocide or genocidal attacks are the invaders. Only Satan could say that. Only evil entity could say that. And Sunak is still looking for excuses to keep her on board. He knows, even Sunak knows, that it's only a matter of time before he will have to kind of exchange these idiotic and dishonest letters with Suella, Evila, Cruella. When she agrees to resign or she's sacked. Now look at the whole of the British situation. When Cameron the Crook was first appointed leader of the Conservative Party at the beginning of this century, Cameron the Crook, the criminal, was seen in contrast with Theresa May, who later became Cameron's Home Secretary. But she wasn't in any central position at that time. But she had become featured in mainstream news after saying that most people consider the Tory party as the nasty party. And the phrase the nasty party has stuck, even though the evidence of Theresa May's behavior while she was in post as Home Secretary shows that she was as nasty as the others. So what is happening now is that Theresa May has faded out of sight. But her phrase has not disappeared. I'm using it for a very good reason. And when Cameron became the leader of the Conservative and then eventually entered number 10 Downing Street because of the criminal complicity by the liar Nick Sick Clegg. I mean, Sick Clegg is serving the ulterior purposes of the Facebook outlet and Mark Zuckerberg, fucking up the social media platforms and the sabotaging the truth and interfering with democracy and all the rest of it. So when Cameron got involved as a prime minister of the Con Dem alliance, one of the things he said, which shouldn't have said, but he did say, was that he would give a referendum opportunity for people to decide whether the United Kingdom should stay in the European Union or not. That was the most stupid thing that Cameron perpetrated. Because although there had been suggestions that the nasty person, Nigel Nasty Farage, was almost there, meaning that he was almost going to win most of the seats against the Conservative Party because the Conservative Party was seen by Nigel Nasty Farage and his so called supporters as being the threat. The Nigel Nasty Farage was going to be the threat to the Conservative Party existentially. So that's the excuse, that's the line that went. But it only went because the liar, Nigel Farage, the crook, it served him to be portrayed as a powerful, influential kind of leader. So Cameron said that he was rescuing the Conservative Party from oblivion at the hands of the Nigel Nasty UKIP. So he gave the referendum. And we know that the referendum was a disaster. And the fact that the United Kingdom is no longer a member of the European Union is negative, negative, negative all the way. What we saw during the campaign, so called, for the Brexit, or the Brexit side of the kind of debate in the campaign period, was that this born liar, congenital liar, born liar, Robin Wales or Boris Johnson. It's Boris Johnson, and we'll come to Robin Wales shortly. Boris Johnson wrote 2 scripts about the referendum on the assumption that he will declare that he was the champion of the winning side. And he stuck to the one that backed Brexit. But in the course of his campaign, Johnson lied. And he lied without any regard for the fact that there might be other people watching him and there might be other people holding him to account, etc., etc. Well, so far he hasn't been. He hasn't been held to account. He hasn't been sold at all. Boris Johnson said an absolute lie, and he said it repeatedly, time and again. And he said that if the United Kingdom didn't leave the European Union, then millions of Turks, people from Turkey, would join the European Union and then they would invade. Effectively, they would invade and take over Britain. And there is something in the psyche of the brainwashed zombie people in Britain. Despite the fact that there have been so many different occupants of number 10 Downing Street, and others have been talking about their convictions and their priorities. So Boris Johnson said that the Turks would take over Britain. That's the hysteria that he created, he intended to create. And that really did the work. That single element of his satanic lie concentrated the minds of the people who hate Muslims, and Turkey is a Muslim country. So the Brexit referendum went Boris Johnson's way, scared the hell out of the people, because otherwise the Turks would come in and take over. Funnily enough, Turks are not boycotted by the same Brexiteers, because Turkey has locations across the country where many of the British holidaymakers go and spend time. That is the actual reality. So we are actually in a situation where the serial liars have actually caused the problems. Now, Sunak goes to Egypt. Now, again, that is a lying act on his part, because he wasn't going to go there. In fact, he had even told King Brian, not to go there. So it's a big kind of about turn from saying that and stopping the king from going there to himself personally appearing and then spewing to the fellow participants words and phrases that suggested that he was going to go there, attend after all along. Now, this phrase of saying that you can't fool all the people all the time, etc., it fits Rishi Sunak perfectly. And Sunak has got other problems as well coming up. So we shall stop this program, this particular broadcast, at this stage, and we shall continue the updating on the other aspects that remain due for updating. It's less than an hour long. We shall be doing that in due course, whenever.